This is how to create an electronic design file using Fusion 360. Of course, you have to download the license or the educational license type of Fusion 360. So if you don't, then you'll end up with only a 30-day trial version. But for the educational license, you can use it for 1 year. So first is, of course, you open your program by clicking Fusion 360, and you'll end up with a blank screen like this. So the next thing to do is we create now our design file. Now what you see on the screen is really for the workspace that you use for drawing 3D objects, and later we will use this when we are making 3D objects such as the casing of the board. So first is you open a new file, clicking close to the save or the disk. So you have a new file here, click it, and then you select new electronic design. Once you have that, you'll have 4 icons here. You can create a new schematic. You can do some reference to the schematic, and you can create new PCB, and then you can do a reference to the PCB. So what we are going to do here is first we create the schematics, and then later we can add this to the project. So click new schematic, and then you'll end up with this. Again, you have a blank screen, which means na you can now draw. There are different ways in doing this. So first, let's try putting in some components, and to do that you have to understand the different tools at the top. Perhaps you can view them one by one, but right now what we need would be to use our library, this one, to place the component. So click on the add part, then you'll end up with this library of components, and there's a lot. So you have to know which one you want to use. So for example, in our case, we are designing a very simple circuit, making use of, let's say, a simple 244, 374, and so you can access. Okay, so let's try a very simple one wherein you have a 244, a buffer, and then you'll provide an input and an output, and then some enable. So to do that, you have to look into the component. You can actually type the search, or you can search for your logic. Okay, so for example, that's a 244. Later on, we can add components to this. If we look into the library using the Open Library Manager, we can add more components to this one. So right now, these are the default components which are being used. But if you go to the Open Library Manager, you can add other components or other libraries which are not yet used. So for now, let's just use the one here, the 244. So open the 244, and we select the different types of 244. And you would see on the right the component, and later on here you would see the actual device. So if you select, for example, this one, that will be the footprint of that component, and that will be what will be displayed. Now what we want now is dip. If there is a dip package, we'll see, and click the other ones. Okay, okay, okay. So there's none, meaning we have to later download or connect to the library. So for now, let's make let's just make use of this type of component. So when you do that, you just click OK here, and you'll end up with that particular symbol, and then you can have two. So we now have these two components. Now the next thing to do is we put in our signals. The signals can be connectors or labels, or we can actually place symbols here. Okay, so let's see. Click this again. Okay, and then now what we have to do is we can connect pins for this one. If you use a connector like this, that means those are ports, but later on you have to connect the ports to an actual pin. So it's better that we make use of the pins so that you can use it for your design. Okay, so how do we do that? You can search for the component with the pins, and these are depending on the type that you have. You can make use of connectors like this one and other things as well. So let's try using connectors. Later we can put switches if we want. Click the connectors, and there are so many connectors. So right now what we need would be 8 input connectors. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for the data. Let's say this represents data. So from here we can look into the 1 times 8 header, and then we can select this one or that one. Okay, this is a right angled one, and this one is a straight header. So let's try the straight header. Select that one, click OK. Then we can place it here. If you want, you can select two headers for each. So place it there. You can rotate this. If you can see the connector on the left side, but you are going to connect the one on the right. So what you can do is you can rotate. Do that using, when you're moving the component, you can try using the right mouse and then OK. So let's say we wanted another one at the other side, so you can rotate and then place the component. Again, if you're finished, then you can just do cancel. So you have that. Okay, so let's try connecting these pins to the pins of the IC. So to do that, you have to use the connect. Okay, in the connect you can make use of this net, no, not the line or but you have to use the net, so there'll be actual connection. So click the net, and then you can select the type of net that you want. You can have straight, you can have bend, and so on. So let's try the straight one with a 90-degree bend. Click on the first one, then drag it, then click to the end. Click the next one, drag, and then click. Click to the third one, click to the fourth one, click. And then for this one, we have to do some sort of an angle. So you can click here, then you click, then go up, then you click, and then click to end. We can do that. You have to take care of this such that you align the wires. Of course, later you can move. Okay, you can move them like that. But yeah, it's by trial and error. Then you can select. Later you can turn on the grid, so you would see where your lines are. Okay, like that. Now, if you make a mistake, you can always delete. If that's okay, then you press cancel. So now we have a line connecting the pin header one, JP1, with the inputs of the 244. So let's try the other side. So we can click this one, click. You have to select the net, and then click, click again. Okay, then we try connecting this. Click, drag, click, click, then drag, click again. Later we can move them. If you want to change the spacing, you can change the spacing. Click, click, then click. Okay, so we've connected our input and our output. So the next thing to do now is have another signal here for the enable. Okay, so when you click or connect using the connector, do not go or move the line passing through the ends of your pins, otherwise they will be connected. So let's see, if you do that, let's say you wanted to do it like this and then like that, so what will happen is they will be connected. Okay, so you can cancel, and of course you can undo. Not that this is not the undo, but the undo is up there. Okay, undo. So again, select, you click, move it down, click, and then you can move it here. But what you do is you would need another jumper. We need one more jumper or one pin for this if we want to have these two connected together. So with that you can cancel, but then there's no connection. Okay, so click, of course you select the net, click, click, and then you can cancel. So we place a component, let's say at 3 pin, and then we make use of the VCC and ground for the other 2 pins. The VCC and ground are not shown here, but later we can display them so we can have the connection. So again, select the component, and we look for, say, 3 pin, wherein you have one enable and one ground and one VCC. This one. So a 3 header, this one. So select that, and then yeah, if you wanna rotate, so you just press the right mouse button of your mouse to rotate. So we now connect this here. You can do it that, connect it like that, and that will be connected. So you press cancel. Okay, you can try whether they are really connected by clicking the move, and then you click and drag. Okay, so you click the component and try to drag it. If you can catch it, then you can actually zoom. Okay, so remember that you can only move the components when your mouse is over the handle. The handle is that small plus. That's the handle for that component, and here is not seen, so you have to click there. Okay, so when you move them around and the line goes with the component, then that's connected. Okay, so look at when it is selected, it becomes yellow and orange when not selected, but I think you can change the color later. Okay, so do that. So we now have a connection, but we still have to do the ground and the VCC. Let's assume that one is ground and 2 is VCC. So to do that, we have to see the ground and the VCC of these two. So if you click the component, then right click, and then you can select invoke. So if you select invoke, then you can see the power in book. So just select the power, this one, okay, and then okay. If you do that, you would have the power line for the first IC. So if you move it using right click, then you'll end up with that. Okay, that's it. Now what you can do now next is either connect the VCC here going to the VCC, and then the ground going to the ground. Now there's another way to do it. What you can do is you can put labels, or you can put the symbols for the VCC and ground. Now when you put labels on the pins, example this one, you call it, let's say, data 7, D7, and you call this D7, then even though you don't have a line here connecting them, these pins will be connected to these pins because they have the same net label. Okay, so what I do is, for short lines, I just connect the lines, but for longer lines, meaning let's say one component is here and the other component is far away and you have to pass through a lot of other wires, it's better that you just label draw a short line, connect, or short net connecting the pins, and then label that pin, and then on the other side you just draw a short line and then label the pin, and the two will be connected. We can do that later. So right now, let's see, just connect this, making use of the power symbols for the VCC and then the ground. So what do? Go to the library and we add part. Okay, so we look at the power, plane. So okay, so to do that, we have to locate it. So one way of doing it is we can now, by the way, type symbol here. So if I type here asterisk here, sorry, then VCC and asterisk. So what's happening is I'm looking for a component or for a symbol with a VCC. If I do okay, you'll have these power symbols here for the VCC, and you can select this one or the circular one. Okay, or that is inside the power symbol library, but there's another library in the tutorial Fusion 360 which is the same. So you have a bar and then a circle for the tutorial. So let's try to use the one in the power symbol library. Click that and then okay. So you can now put the value. You can actually do that and then attach, but what I usually do is when it is positive voltage, I have it upside like this. Okay, and then when I have the ground, I put it downward. So let's try that. Cancel, then get a component again. So this time we now type ground to find ground. So asterisk GND, ground line. You can use that one or this one or this one. Most of the time we use this, no, in our symbol, but really this is a ground to earth, meaning the pins are connected to the casing of the board, but sometimes you don't connect the ground to a plane, so you can select this ground one for this one, and then you put a value of GND. Okay, so let's try this one. Okay, and then click here for the ground. Okay, and then cancel. So now we connect pin 2 to VCC, selecting the net, click on number 2, click, and then click the VCC, and then click number 1, click to VCC. Okay, of course you have to save, no, we haven't saved this project, so you can click the save, and then you can type the schematic. Of course, what I do is I type here the type of circuit I'm working, not just the schematic name, and then you have to store it in a location. By the way, whatever you do is stored in the cloud, no, not in your computer, and later on you can download the design to your computer. So let's say we select here not schematic, but maybe we put here the, since this is a 244, then let's say it is a driver. Okay, try a driver, and then we can put, if we want, so we know it's schematic underscore SCH. And then here the location, you can use you can select this one, but you can create a different project. Let's say let's have a new project. Let's say that, let's name the project as our let's say design, or some other name, say design project. You can later name it to whatever file you are working for the exercises. Okay, so you can use, say, okay, then save. Okay, then the name is a driver. Okay, but you have to put the, when you save this one, you have to put it into the design project. Okay, so click the design project, so location will be the design project, then you save. So this file will be saved in that particular project or folder. Later on, when you go to the internet and open the browser or the site for the team view of the Fusion 360, you can see the files in the cloud. Then from there you can do renaming, deleting, but you cannot do that here. You can rename, but you cannot delete, for example, the project. Once you have done that, then it's there, but you can always delete the project in the cloud. Okay, so once we have this, we are now ready for the next step, which is to make this as a board. Okay, so right now we haven't connected this, by the way. We have to connect this pins to this one. We can move this around or move this down so it will be closer here. So click the move, and then find the, I'm zooming in and out, no, using the cursor, the scroll of the mouse. So select that. Okay, then move, and you can put it here. So what I do is I usually place it close to the component, so I know that it is part of this component. Okay, so we now have to put in also the ground for this side and BCC for other side, so they are now connected to this one and this one. So to do that, you can copy this and this one, or you can create a new one. So let's try to create a new one. Say ground. Okay, then we connect, give for the ground, and then cancel, select another one. Okay, and then we type BCC. Like that. Then we select the BCC, and then we put here. Okay, then cancel, and then we now connect the wires using the net, like that, and then ground. There you are. Now sometimes you might want to put in a capacitor as a filter capacitor. We don't usually do that in digital electronics, but it's a good idea to place a capacitor across each of your ICs. Okay, for example here, or one filter capacitor at the power supply. Let's try to do that. Let's put in two capacitors, one close to the pins, the power and ground pins of the IC, and then another one close to the pins of the connector which we plug in our power supply. So how do we do that? Add part, and then we select a capacitor. We can type in asterisk cap asterisk to get the capacitor. So press OK, and then you'll end up with different types of capacitors. You can have C, and these are small ones. This is surface mount, like that. Okay, you can get bigger ones like this one. That's a 12.5 mm diameter, or a bigger one, like that. You can also get a polarized, for example, for the connecting, let's say, the power. You can use a polar capacitor. So if you that, then you can have axial type, or you can have the radial type. Say example, let's try the 25, the big one, say 32 mm, that big capacitor. So just OK, and then we click this one. So now it's polarized, so we can see that there is a positive, okay, and a negative. So let's put it there, then cancel. Now we can adjust this later if we want to, so that we can make use of only one ground and one VCC signal. Okay, let's try another one, but this time the capacitor is let's say a smaller one, which is 12.5 millimeter in diameter for filter capacitor for that IC. So select that one. So, and then we can place it here. You can do this, use right click. So you can do that, then put it here. Okay, for the power, and then cancel. You can zoom out like that. So we now connect the ground and the VCC. Select the net, click that one, and then click connect the other one, or you can connect here if you want. Okay, now for this one, we can move this down so that we can connect this pin, or you can rotate this. So let's try to move. Click the move, click the handle. Of course, when you do that, okay, you'll notice that the wires are actually being dragged also. So it's better when you do that, that you first delete the wire, and then afterwards you move the symbol, and then you make the wire again. Right, okay, select, then delete. Okay, then you move this down, click the component. Sorry, we have deleted the group, the whole thing. We can undo it here. So that's it. Then move it, then click the handle, and then move it down until you have this is aligned. Okay, then we select connect the net, click here, connect, and then click this one, and then connect, and then we connect this to this one. Notice that if you're in a junction more than 3 connections, you now end up with a dot, meaning to show that they are connected. So this one, you can see they are not connected, but if you put in a dot here, then those lines will be connected to one another. Okay, just do that. So you now have a complete You can zoom in, zoom out. Zoom in is to scroll mouse forward. Zoom out is scroll mouse backward. Now, sometimes when you use the eagle, you might get confused because in eagle, it's the other way around. When you move the mouse, scroll mouse forward, then it becomes zoom out. And then when you move the mouse or the scroll bar backward, this is a zoom out, but in eagle it's zoom in. Okay, but you can get used to it. Okay, so let's save this, and then you can have several versions. Okay, so whenever you save, it becomes one version. So if this user save, and there's auto save. Okay, so let's say version 1.0, and then okay, so that's it for the design. Now sometimes you wanted to put this inside the frame such that it will look nice, of course, and you can select the frame, and then we search for a frame, asterisk type frame, like that, and then okay, there's no frame symbol, maybe they have not been loaded. Okay, for on this one, so we can get the component, we can get the frame from the library later. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. Search for the frame. So we try to open the library. So when you open the library, you'll end up with this capacitor, connector, IC logic, and power symbols. These are the components that are in the design. So it's the one that we placed here. Okay, now if you click the in use, then you'll end up with the available component in the installation of Fusion 360. Okay, but if you click the available, then you can select all the available libraries, and you can even import libraries. So let's try. If we use in use, these are what we see here. These are the libraries being used, and then you can add and delete libraries, by the way. So that's it. So there's no frame in it, so let's try clicking available. So if you click available, you'll end up with so many libraries which will be downloaded once you click. Okay, then you can browse actually and find the particular component. Let's see if we can browse, and if you have it in your right in your PC, then you should be able to search. So for example, if you don't have a particular library, you can download them. Okay, and then afterwards you place the library into this folder in Fusion 360, and then examples, libraries, examples. And when you do that, then this is an Eagle Live, but you can also have a Fusion 360 Live. Then you can make use of it. Okay, so the format is .lbr. Okay, again, I think we have to add it since the available libraries are not there, so you have to search for the particular library for the frames. I think it's down here at the bottom. You have to look for it. There's so many components. for the different manufacturers. Okay, so special ICs, power, capacitors, sensors, resistors, package, and so on. Okay, notice that there's so many of them. Frames, so it's small letters for the frame. So you open that one. Okay, so that will be downloaded. So we can just select, if you click that one and then say use, click the use, and then that frames library will be downloaded. Okay, and that explains what it does. When that's okay, then you close that. Once it's there is installed, close it, and then if you go back here, when you open the library, then there should be frames there. So if you open frames, you'll end up with different frames. So let's try the A4 frame. That's vertical, and we can look for the horizontal. I think it's this one. Okay, L. Okay, this one. Landscape. The P is portrait. A4, A5, and so on. So let's see. I think we can fit in the design in an A4. Select that one. Now you can now put it. You can zoom out, and then yeah, zoom out, zoom in, and then you'll have the frame like that, and then cancel. Then you can put in names here using the tool for your document, and then type the text here. So if you select document, the lines here are actually drawing lines. They are not actual components. So if you don't have a component but you wanted to simulate a component, you can make use of these drawing lines. Okay, so we click the text, and then we put in our, say here, the name of the project. You can enter the text here, and then you can adjust the size. Okay, so let's try driver design. Type design. Then you can put in, say, version 1.0. Okay, so if you do that, this one, and then you have, when you click it, it will be like that. Now you can make it bigger, change the size. So it's 0.07, maybe say put it 0.1. Select the whole thing, then change the size to match. Okay, so let's see, that's enough for yeah. And then let's say a different one. Let's say name. The designer. Then select, say, point smaller one, 0.8. Okay, you can select the whole thing and then type the size, so that when you have that, it will be adjusted already. Okay, so I can put it there and then cancel, and then so you now have a form with the frame. Or a design with the frame. Then you save your, and then you can say another version, say version 1.2. Okay, so that's it. You can actually view it there. So right now we have done a lot for the design project. If you click the design project, then you'll see this part. Okay, so yeah, later on we can add more. So right now that's it. Now the next thing to do, which would be the topic for the next session, would be to create from this one our PCB by changing or creating a new one and switching to a PCB layout. But you have to link the PCB to the schematic. It's better that you do that in the project itself. When you create this one, new design, and then from the new design you create a new electronic design, so that they will be, of course, linked together. Okay, so that's it. It's actually saved in our API Live folder or team, and anybody who are a member of the team should be able to see this design.